Aaliyah Moore pressed her fingers against the edge of her laptop, heart pounding as she refreshed the page. For months, she had juggled schoolwork, side jobs, and endless studying, desperate to boost her SAT score and secure the college acceptance letters she and her family had dreamed about. When the numbers finally appeared on the screen, she almost burst into tears. A near-perfect score. This was supposed to be her victory moment, proof of the late nights and overworked weekends, proof that she belonged. But less than a week later, a letter from the testing board arrived, accusing her of cheating, telling her that her dream-chasing score was, under review. In that instant, everything flipped. The proud calls from relatives turned to worried whispers, and she went from academic star to prime suspect. People she thought believed in her began asking if it was really possible for her to improve so drastically. Unspoken in their tone was the assumption that brilliance and blackness didn't go hand in hand. Suddenly, Aaliyah found herself defending more than just her test results. She was defending her right to dream big, to be taken seriously, and to be recognized for the hard work she had actually done. Instead of celebrating her success, she braced for a battle, one she never expected to fight. Before Aaliyah ever saw that near-perfect score, she'd already tasted the sting of disappointment. The first time she took the SAT, her performance was nowhere near what her dream colleges demanded, and it felt like the world was telling her, "This is your limit." After a brief moment of shock, she made up her mind to push back. She began carrying flashcards everywhere she went, on the bus, in between classes, even while waiting in line at the grocery store with her mom. Most nights, she stayed up so late with her vocabulary lists and math drills that her eyes stung and her fingers felt numb from writing out formulas again and again. She turned down invitations from friends who said she was missing out on life. But Aaliyah couldn't shake the pressure that came from all sides. Her dad worked 2 jobs just to keep her in a decent school district, and her mom took extra shifts so they could pay for tutoring sessions. Their living room table was always cluttered with half-finished practice tests and notes scribbled in the margins, with her parents' encouraging messages written at the top of each page. In the afternoons, after a long day at school, Aaliyah would ride her bike to the public library, where she discovered a quiet corner to study without interruption. Local librarians got used to her routine, often greeting her with a smile and pointing her toward books they thought might help. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she'd remember how her grandmother used to say, "Hard work makes a way out of no way." And that simple phrase kept her going. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But through every drained moment, she held on to one unshakable belief. She was capable of more than the system expected of her. Aaliyah's confidence crumbled the day she got the official letter from the college board. She read every word again and again, hoping there was some mistake. Instead, the message was clear. Her new score was under review due to a suspicious increase from her previous attempt. She could practically hear the subtext. They didn't believe she could honestly be that smart. Suddenly, her dream college applications were put on hold as admission officers paused to wait on the final outcome, leaving her uncertain of whether they would even read her essays. Almost overnight, she went from being celebrated by some teachers to being quietly questioned by others. In the hallways, classmates whispered, "How did she pull that off?" And not in a complimentary way. One teacher even asked if someone else had taken the test for her, an accusation that stung more than any failing grade ever could. Each glance, each conversation felt loaded with suspicion, as if people were scanning her face for signs of guilt. Instead of applauding her hard work, the school seemed to view her improvement as a crime scene that needed investigating. Aaliyah couldn't escape the feeling that her identity itself was on trial. She wondered if this was how it would always be, having to prove again and again that she really was just a black girl who studied hard and did well. No elaborate schemes, no shortcuts, just grit and determination. As word spread about Aaliyah's case, It became painfully clear that her ordeal wasn't an isolated incident, just the latest page in a centuries-old story. Generations earlier, enslaved people were legally barred from reading or writing, and anyone caught teaching them could face vicious penalties. That fear was rooted in a belief system designed to suppress black literacy, to keep brilliance locked away. Even after slavery ended, the myth of intellectual inferiority persisted under Jim Crow, used to justify run-down school buildings and outdated textbooks in black neighborhoods, claiming it was a waste to invest in a population deemed incapable of excellence. Fast forward to 2011, when predominantly black educators in Atlanta were publicly blamed and prosecuted in a cheating scandal, leading many to argue that they were scapegoated by a system hungry for targets rather than solutions. And just a few years ago, the story of Kamilah Campbell, another black teenager whose SAT score was flagged after she worked tirelessly to improve, echoed across headlines, reminding everyone how standardized tests could punish success rather than reward it. Aaliyah realized that, for too many black students, academic achievement is seen less like a triumph and more like a red flag. Everywhere she looked, there were stories of black children placed in remedial classes or labeled as behavior problems, while their equally bright peers found supportive pathways into gifted programs. Professors accused talented black undergraduates of plagiarism simply because their writing was too good. Employers doubted the credentials of black job applicants if they seemed too qualified. In each of these stories, a pattern emerged. Whenever black excellence surfaced, the system responded with suspicion. What was happening to Aaliyah felt less like a personal attack and more like a centuries-long echo of disbelief, that a young black mind, sparkling with ideas and possibilities, was a threat to be contained or questioned. And in that realization, she found both heartbreak and a fierce resolve. If her score was being treated like a crime, it was only because countless others before her had dared to learn, to write, to create, and been punished for the very act of shining. Aaliyah and her parents refused to let the accusation define her. Instead of hiding behind closed doors, they reached out to local community leaders, explained her situation, and asked for guidance. Word traveled quickly, and soon neighborhood activists, church groups, and even a few teachers brave enough to stand against the grain rallied around her. A news station caught wind of her story, leading to an on-air interview that ignited fierce debates on social media. People questioned why any student, especially one who'd clearly devoted countless hours to studying, should be punished for succeeding. Aaliyah felt a mix of fear and relief at the sudden attention. She hated the spotlight, but knew this was bigger than her now. When a civil rights organization offered to connect her with a lawyer, she jumped at the chance. She handed over every piece of evidence, logs of her library visits, tutoring receipts, practice test score, anything to show how systematically she had prepared. The lawyer assured her that even though the College Board had an ironclad process, public pressure could move mountains. Black-led nonprofits and historically black fraternities and sororities also stepped in, uplifting her voice on their platforms. For the first time in weeks, she began to feel less alone. Her phone buzzed day and night with messages of solidarity, many from other students who had experienced eerily similar run-ins with standardized test accusations. Each story added to her resolve, fueling her to keep speaking out even when she just wanted to crawl under the covers and forget. Slowly but surely, she realized that her voice wasn't merely her own. She was speaking for every student who'd been told, "You can't possibly be that good," and summarily dismissed. And the more she spoke up, the more the system's cracks showed, revealing itself as a structure that wasn't built to believe in her brilliance. Yet there she stood, determined to carve out her rightful place. In the end, the College Board never fully backtracked on its suspicion. They offered to let her retake the exam for free, implying that perhaps she could verify her abilities under stricter conditions. But Aaliyah, armed with public support and an unwavering belief in her own worth, refused to let that be her final story. She put in her college applications anyway, attaching a well-crafted personal statement that spelled out not just her academic achievements, but the uphill battle she'd faced to prove they were real. Months later, acceptance letters arrived, first from a local HBCU, then from a top-tier institution that read her statement and saw the resiliency behind each word. It felt surreal to see those envelopes addressed to her, welcoming her brilliance rather than questioning it. Yet her triumph didn't stop there. She spearheaded an after-school tutoring program at her church, helping younger students navigate the traps and pitfalls of standardized tests. News of her efforts spread, and soon she was partnering with local organizers to offer free test prep to kids in underfunded neighborhoods. Whenever she felt tired or overwhelmed, she remembered the letter that tried to erode her confidence, and she channeled that anger into purpose. By graduation day, her future no longer revolved around a single test score. It blossomed into a movement for educational equity, one she would champion wherever she went. Standing on the stage in her cap and gown, Aaliyah looked out into the audience, finding her parents' tearful smiles. She raised her diploma in the air like a banner of defiance, her heart pounding with conviction. "They called my improvement suspicious," she told a local reporter that afternoon. "But the only thing suspicious is a system that still refuses to believe black girls can be brilliant." Thank you for watching and joining us on this journey. If this story moved you, please make sure to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to Apple Black Voices Chronicles to keep these important conversations alive. By tuning in and showing your support, you're helping us shine a light on Black brilliance and challenge the biases that try to keep it hidden. Together, we can speak out, stand up, and ensure no one's story gets erased. Thank you for being part of this movement.